You know that, oh, no, he asked me, he said, why do you want to study this paper? And I said, everybody knows these people as great philosophers. And then he said, who? I said, don't be ridiculed, Fela, because now I had the courage to address him. Every book is saying it. And then that was where Fela said, have you read other books that are saying the contrary? And I said, no. And then he called Aham, go inside my bedroom, bring me the 2 books next to my bed. This was how we got hold of the Black Man of the Nile and the Stolen Legacy. The 2 books, the Black Man of the Nile was we're talking about 40,000 or 50,000 years of human history back. And then the other one, Stolen Legacy by George G.M. James, was telling us about the Greeks were not the authors of philosophy, but the black people commonly called Black Egyptians. That was how the 2 of us were borrowing. Fela gave us this book to read.
Alors. Il dit Three Musketeers, because you know that the Three Musketeers are 4 with Fela. Lemi, tell me, who was who? Can I imagine that Duro was a musician, ID was a writer intellectual, and you were the designing artist? Is it true? Is it false?
Very true. T-R-U-E.
Thank you. Thank you.
We were known as the Three Musketeers, but actually Fela called us YAP Boys. When he says YAP Boys, it's 3 of us. But you know, the organization we built up, we published some newsletters. At a time, we were estimating about 50,000 members before the Obasanjo government proscribed the group. When they found out that it was a political movement for Kalakuta. Those were interesting times because knowledge is power, like they say. But I love to say, knowledge applied is powerful. We read a lot of books, a lot of history from Fela and direction. Duro had mentioned Love Sarampa. Love Sarampa was a Tibetan monk, Buddhist monk, who wrote 19 books about life in every aspect, metaphysically. And we studied those books. Fela read all those books, like I did, like my 2 other friends did too. And I still live my life based on a lot of things that I learned from the philosophy in that book. I don't practice any religion as I'm sitting here, but at that point in my life, like they were saying earlier on, I was a Roman Catholic. I was going to church. I even had the fantasy dream I was going to be a mass server at a point. I did my confirmation. I had my baptismal name as Emmanuel, my confirmation Michael, and it got to a point because of the knowledge that we were exposed to via Fela's direction. I started feeling inside within me. I started checking things that was being taught in church. I remember every Saturday I would go for confession. And the kind of nature I have, I always self-check myself. That's my nature. ID was saying he was timid. I'm just smiling because ID wasn't half as timid as me. I was very timid. but I always had that confidence within me. Anything that my spirit advised, I always loved to do it. So one day I came back from confession and I'm thinking like, this is how these colonialists get to know who we are. Because the community has this Irish priest that takes confession from everybody. And we come and confess our so-called sins. Mine, especially, because of my own kind of lifestyle, I had 2 sins every week. The same sins. One is, I will kneel down and I'll say, bless me, Father, I have sinned. These are my sins. I abused my mother 3 times this week. I stole meat from the soup pot 4 times this week. Those are my sins. Why? The abuse is not direct abuse because of the passion I have for drawing. I may be drawing and my mom will call me and say, send me an errand that will take me like 2 hours. So I will be grumbling like, oh, this woman. Then I will remember the Bible and say, oh, I've sinned against my mom. So I
You
can't
wanted
tell her
freedom.
my sin. Yeah.
Freedom was the language at
Yeah.
that time.
So and another thing, my mom showed me how to warm the stew, but when she dish out my food, she gives me a little, piece of meat. I'll keep quiet. When I'm warming the soup, I look left and right. I take one. Then on Saturday, imagine the temerity. I will now go and kneel down before this Irish white man, and I say, I stole meat 4 times. So, reading the history, all these history books, realizing the greatness of Africa and all that, I started analyzing that, okay, this is how these colonialists got to know our frame of mind and to set up, this miseducation that is affecting us till tomorrow. The one that Fela called Kolo mentality. So I just told my mom, I said, I'm not going to church again. But thank goodness, my mom wasn't very hard on me because she was highly spiritual. She was gifted. She was a seer. She can see visions and so on. And she said to me, okay, it's your destiny. And I was so happy. Same reason why I didn't attend university. Like IDOWU was explaining, he wanted to study philosophy and all that. My dad wanted me to be a mechanical engineer. But now, art has taken over. And I've achieved some success with my art already. My first cover I had done 2 covers before I met Fela, but my cover for Fela made me start instantly. So, yeah.
Thanks to the inspiration Fela gave us.
Yes.
Microphone,
Yes.
microphone.
Yes, indeed.
Thanks
ID. ID.
Thanks to the inspiration Fela gave us as young men.
Yeah, sure.
It was because for most of us at that time, we didn't imagine that we could have a man like Fela standing up against the Nigerian army. We didn't imagine.
I think the most important thing is that colonization takes off your confidence, destroys your manhood and your vision to be yourself. So when the confidence you had was information, the education, that the first thing, for example, in a book like The Black Man of the Nile says that no man allows his motherland, his country of origin, to be subverted and destroyed constantly without reacting to it. So those kind of things were, to be very honest with you, in Africa, we think the Europeans are superior because of the psychological warfare. You go to church, the first thing you see there is a Oyibo painting of Jesus Christ, painted by Michelangelo, for example. And that psychology, you go on the street, you see billboards and things like that. So that kind of psychology makes, and then yeah. So what led to YAP was that the constant, there was a constant assault on the youth, especially in Fela's environment. And then Fela said, you youths, you need education. We must start an organization and start a newspaper and start. So, and then already Fela said that we were on the kind of level that we understand what he's saying. And it's okay, yes, 3 of you, let's see how we can start to do this. And he called us for a meeting and then announced okay, so what happened?
A lot of people have criticized Fela as macho, especially when he sang Lady. But what a lot of people forgot was that Fela sang Gentleman. And Gentleman, if you look at the album cover, it was a monkey dressed in suit and tie. I was working, Lemi and DURO were working at the Ministry of Commerce.
Ministry of Works and Housing.
I was in the Ministry of Petroleum Resources.
Well, they both were working in the ministry. I was working with a division of the USC as a sales representative. AJC1. My work obliged me to wear tie to the office, if you remember. And with the education we were getting, the information we were getting from Fela, galvanizing us towards blackism, black ideology. I said to me in my head, not even discussing it with my friends, I said, it's ridiculous that I'm putting on tie to work. So I refused to put on tie to work, if you guys remember. And then I got sacked because I refused to put on tie to work. And Lemi and DURO said, we have to go and inform Fela about this year's sack, remember? And then we took the letter of my sack to Fela, and he read it. A black man, they are questioning you for not putting on tie. And thanks to the thinking of my two other friends, they gave me 1-page query in agency word. I replied with a 4-page query, if you guys remember.
You put the query together, the answer together.
Exactly. We put the query together saying that
Answer.
Our climatic condition in Nigeria is not conducive to wear tie. Climatic condition is not relevant to dress like a white person. Anyway, to cut the story short, Fela, Lemi and DURO, they came to visit me in the office.
Yes, that iconic picture.
I
don't know.
It's Femi photo, I think, has the.
There was a photograph of the three of us.
Yeah.
With Fela.
Fela
in my agency, and the manager hid under the table.
Exactly. When my manager heard that Fela was in the building, he shut his windows, he locked his door, and he was like, and then Fela said, pretended like he was reading the letter for the first time. He said, yes, we are going to fight these people. How can they be sacking black people because they refuse to pay the time? And then I remember that we walked, I went back with them, the three of us went back with Fela, and then the following day I got to the office, I was sacked finally. They paid me my salary, they paid me my 2-month salary in advance, and they said, get out. You cannot bring only trouble man like Fela to the office. Then the good thing about Fela was that he asked me, he said ID. The following day, Lemi and DURO was there. He said, when we went to see him, he said, ID, what do you want to do with your life? You remember? And then I said, I want to be a writer. Then Fela said to the two of us, come and see me the following day, if you remember. The three of us went to see him. And Fela that's always late. When Fela says, come at 11, at 1 he's not ready. He said, come at 11. The three of us arrived in 11. Fela was dressed. He drove us to Igomo sector, if you remember, to RT Briscoe.
Okay, yeah. That's where he buys his cars.
Voila. Yeah. He took us to RT Briscoe. They were selling this German printing machine.
Heidelberg.
Yeah. They were printing this
Code 40.
Voila.
Yeah.
And then
47,000 naira.
Exactly.
With complete lithography setup.
Yeah.
Well, guys, do you know there's a curfew at midnight?
So
No, I think it's great. Honestly, I love it. I love the competition.
The memory flash.
No, it's really fabulous. It was not Heidelberg.
I've been for like 30 years. I'm just saying for the first time in 30 years now.
DURO. Just before going to the audience, because I think it would be even more fun with the audience, I just would like to
identity for myself and my brand. I started working. I became totally withdrawn. So in 2001, that's 20 years ago, Ibrahim, if you remember, the director then, Alliance Francaise, was Pascal Letellier. And he had this Cameroonian playwright who came into town, was having a show called Madness Junction. And they wanted to design poster for that show, for the play. And the guy said, can you find that artist who did Fela covers? And I think Ibrahim got the assignment to look for me. Nobody knew where I was staying. I was staying in Ipaja. I didn't socialize and all that. But one way or the other, Ibrahim traced the place inside and found me. And that was why I had the opportunity to do my first official exhibition ever in my life. So thank you, Ibrahim. We'll miss you in Nigeria, but we will be shuffling.
Not now. And the version of Mother Junction will go to Kenya, my dear Lemi, as you know. How was it to live with this kind of genius? Because when I hear you, it's very funny because you speak about Bible and everything, but you speak like apostle following the Christ. You said at one moment, follow me. What do you want to do in your life? Follow me. It's very biblical in one sense. So how was it, sincerely, to be with this kind of charisma? Was it frightening? Was it friendly? Was it? Did you feel at the same level? Did you feel completely down?
I think the first thing you just feel when you get to Fela's environment, when we're going there, was first a fright of what you see in Fela's house. Everybody is very, very looking like a prisoner in Fela's house. Very strict, smoking Igbo, dressed madly, girls painting their faces, very, very scary, like masquerades. And you're coming outside from a Christian background and you see this, first you cool down. I think the first time I ever saw a phone that was very close to me was in Fela's house. And I remember when Lemi wanted to make a phone call, he put the receiver
Upside down.
of the phone at the mouthpiece. Or so we were really, really miles away from where Fela was. But the education that Fela gave us, within 1 or 2 years, there was nobody thinking the way we were thinking. And at the point, we started YAP. Fela asked all the people in his house whether they had a card of Young African Pioneers, because we were issuing cards at the YAP office. Membership card. And nobody, it was only 30 kobo at that time. And nobody in his house had the card. And then Fela said, wow, none of you have this card? Okay, you all have to be a member of YAP. So the YAP wasn't about numbers, but about intellectual. And I was also studying music at that time. Fela met me and said, Duro, how many times do you practice? I said, 3 times a week. Fela said, 3 times a week? You can never be a pianist in your life. I said, cannot be a pianist. So what do you mean by that? Fela said, 3 times a week? You must practice like 5 hours every day. I said, Fela, I don't have a piano. You don't have a piano? Then Fela started that. Where do you live? I live in Ikoyi. In Ikoyi, you know there are churches there, there are schools there, they have piano, Ikoyi college there, this is there, this is there. And you don't have a piano. That was what started me thinking of having a piano for the confidence. And then I found a place where I could practice for maybe 2 hours every day. And I left the job I was doing, and that's how I started. 2 hours every day. I didn't even have money to pay for this. Lemi bought me my first piano. Because, and that shocked my parents. Because at this time, our parents were watching us carefully. Our ideas were changing. And my mother, at the point, they drove me out of the house.
His mother,
I said, I went to Fela. I said, Fela, they drove me out of the house. They drove me out of the house. He said, why? I said, I stopped doing my job. I don't want to be a clerk anymore. I want to be a musician. And I'm practicing every day. And then Fela said, go and tell your father to leave the house. You are the owner of the house. So that profounded the terror on me. Because
No. The idea was, tell your father that he should go to his own father's house. Your father's house.
So we started having conflict in our homes. My mother hated ID. Lemi's mother hated me.
because they all thought we influenced their children to go visiting.
Our thinking started getting different. I stopped going to church. I started reading. I took the Stolen Legacy and I showed my parents. I said, look at this kind of book. This kind of book is this. We have the Holy Bible. Get out! So they never understood where we were coming from. And at the point, I had to leave my house. ID was a bit free in his house, but and Lemi was worse. because he was the only child of his parents, the only born of his. So our character and everything. So we said we don't want parents in our attitude anymore. So we never talk to our parents. And what you're seeing here is a product of mind, and mind mastery and self-mastery, not Nigerian education at all. My education has been completely taken off by Fela, and a new education of how to be yourself, a master.
He didn't impose on us.
No, there's no imposition.
He gave us knowledge. He gave us access to knowledge. It's a different thing from indoctrination. When I was arguing with him about Socrates and Aristotle, he gave us the books to prove the contrary, to prove that these people learned their knowledge. And that was where we took off.
And then this is a magazine that recently we have developed. It's called the United People of Africa, quarterly news magazine. And in one of these write-ups, I have Chike Wabogu from the United States. He wrote, "Man, Know Yourself." And then the other write-up here is "Only the Truth Can Free Africa." And the subtitle was given as a message of Fela to us when myself and Lemi designed a 3 by 2 feet poster, 24 by 36 poster of Fela. We had no money, nothing at all, and we did that poster. And what Fela told us was that we asked Fela, what do you want to, and then we put black president on the poster. And then Fela said, what message do you want to give to the people? Or we asked Fela, what message does he want to give to the people? And Fela said, if a man wants to enslave you forever, he will never tell you the truth about your forefathers. So that is the message of this. And let me add a poem in one of the pages. So we have been trying to see how we can pass our message